Welcome to Marketing Speak, a series of interviews and monologues featuring thought leaders and industry practitioners in search engine optimization, e-commerce, and online marketing. Here's your host, Stefan Spencer, SEO expert, author, speaker, consultant, and internet entrepreneur.
YouTube is the second most popular search engine after Google. If you're advertising anywhere online and you're not advertising on YouTube, you are missing the boat. This episode number 155 is a deep dive into YouTube advertising best practices. Our guest today is Tom Breeze. Now, just as an aside, we've covered this topic before. All the way back in episode 32, we had Tommie Powers, also known as Tommie Traffic, talking about how he built an 8-figure empire off of YouTube advertising. It's a great episode. In this episode, with Tom Breeze, who is an agency owner, an agency that specializes in YouTube advertising. It's a wholly different perspective, and I think you're going to really enjoy it. Tom Breeze is the founder and CEO of Viewability, which specializes in YouTube advertising and boasts an impressive client list of international personal and corporate brands. With a pay-for-performance financial model, Viewability and Partners are now the world's largest performance-based YouTube advertising company. Tom is also a speaker, author, and consultant teaching businesses around the world how to advertise successfully on YouTube. Tom, it's great to have you on the show.
It's great to be here. Thank you for inviting me. And yeah, I'm looking forward to sharing a lot of stuff around YouTube ads.
Perfect. Now, first of all, let's differentiate YouTube organic and YouTube as an ad platform because they are so vastly different. You still need material content in the form of fantastic video for both, but with YouTube advertising, you need some other things that you don't need for organic and vice versa too, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think that a lot of people look at YouTube as this one platform, and I feel like there's a lot of people that feel like when they go to look at YouTube, they need to create lots of videos, and it needs to be a regular schedule, and they need to be really highly produced and create a lot of videos so that kind of they gain this traction and they start to build subscribers. And then hopefully one day they'll start to drive customers from that channel. And that's the organic play. And I believe that that is a huge opportunity for a lot of people. But it is very different. It's more of a branding play to begin with. And then later on, when you build the momentum, you can start generating customers and gaining traction that way. With advertising, it's much more, you have much more of an ability to get in front of your customers very, very quickly. And you can be like, right, on day one, you create your video. On day two, you start running your ads, and you can be in front of thousands, if not millions of people very, very quickly indeed with advertising.
Right. So you don't need like the amazing metrics of watch time and number of views and likes and all that. If you just are willing to pay and outspend the competition, you can turn on the spigot and have just a flood of traffic coming to you.
Precisely. And you don't need to have one as well as having the other. It's not it can be an either or sometimes. So you can say, right, well, I don't have any presence on YouTube right now, and you can still have an amazing ad campaign running. So it doesn't mean that like if you're not got a presence on YouTube, you can't run ads. I think a lot of people feel like you have to have some sort of presence on YouTube already in order to run your ads and be successful. Most of our clients, we actually start a completely new channel when we start working with them and run our ads from a completely new channel sometimes. And it's almost like you can start from scratch with YouTube. And as long as you create one video as your ad, you can actually create a very, very successful campaign that way. And the ad doesn't even need to be public.
Technically, you don't even need to do videos on YouTube at all if you want to drive clicks directly to your website from, let's say, by putting banner ads in the video of somebody else, right?
Yeah, I suppose that if you look at it from that perspective, then yes, there are many like image ads and text ads that you can still run on YouTube. We don't get involved a huge amount with those sorts of ads. We go down the angle of creating the videos where you would almost be, most people see it as a pre-roll ad. So it's actually called an in-stream ad where you're about to watch a video on YouTube, you press play or you click the video to watch the video, and then an ad will pop up in front of you. And that pre-roll ad, typically the ones we run, which is called the in-stream ad, would be one where you can hover over the skip ad button if you wish to, and then after 5 seconds you can press skip ad. That's the most traditional ad that you tend to see on YouTube, and we run a lot of those ads. You'll also see when you search for something on YouTube, at the top of the search results or on the right-hand side when you're watching a video, you can see these sponsored ads there as well. Like you can see the thumbnail and maybe a bit of text like a title and a bit of a description there as well as to why you should watch that video. They're called discovery ads. They used to be called in-search ads. But yeah, they can be very powerful as well because obviously if someone doesn't click on your video, then you don't have to pay, but you can still get that branding out there. You can still have your face or your logo or any part of your branding you want to have out there being displayed constantly at the top of the search results and on the right-hand side. So that can play a big part as well in some very successful campaigns.
And there are also those in-stream ads where they're not skippable. Is there a name for that where you can't skip after 5 seconds?
Non-skippable ads, there's actually a variety of them. You sometimes have like bumper ads, which are 6-second ads. And those ads are, you run those more of like a brand awareness play, and then you can follow up that audience who may have seen your bumper ads, like a 6-second video. Then you have, as you say, the non-skippable ads. They are run in a different part of the ad platform, which is the Google Ads platform. They actually run in a different section, so it comes under the display section, and you can run ads that way as well. Those ones, you either have a 20-second spot or a 30-second spot. I think they're removing the 30-second spot. I can't remember where they're at with that, because asking someone to be on YouTube and being forced to watch 30 seconds of an ad before they get to watch the video they wanted to watch is not the best user experience, and YouTube are aware of that. So they can make a lot of money from it, but they're aware that it's not great from a user experience perspective. We don't get involved with those types of videos too much. We have tried them and we've had mixed results, but we tend to find we get a lot more success when we run those in-stream ads, which are the ones where you can skip after 5 seconds.
Got it. And why a new channel instead of just adding on to what they're already doing with their existing channel?
You can add the video ads to the existing channel. We just find that when you run ads, because it is such a different video to any other type of video that you'd want to put out organically. So let's say, for example, you've got a big channel doing very successfully and you're creating these videos that might be 3 to 5 minutes in length. People are watching them. There's a great viewer retention. YouTube are looking at all these stats in order to know how to position your channel. So that if you release a new video, it might go straight to the top of the search results because they trust in your brand on YouTube. If you run your ads in the same channel, your ads perform in a completely different way. The chances are they'll get huge amounts of views and they'll have very low viewer retention because obviously loads of people are going to click after the first 5 seconds, and your view rates will be low. You're in comparison to the rest of your channel. And when you have so much traffic going to like one ad that's performing very well because you're spending a lot of money on that video, it can, and it's more of a protection and not proven out just yet, but it can have a negative impact on the actual channel. Because if you've got a successful channel getting a lot of rankings and got some really good SEO going on, and so you've got a lot of natural exposure, and you start putting an ad in that channel and it gets lots and lots more views, and the viewer retention is low and the click-through rate can be lower than some of your other ads comparatively, then as a result, could have a negative impact. So that's why we tend to just run it from a completely separate channel. And we don't do that all the time. It's a considered choice with the client as to see what we want to do with it. But that's kind of some types of ads. Like we do have longer ads where we get that viewer retentions to be really, really high. But a lot of the ads we do run might be 30 to 45 second videos that are kind of specifically direct response videos. So it wouldn't be designed for viewer retention, for high view rates. It's designed to get people to click to the website to go and investigate and buy a particular product. And as a result, we don't like to muddy the waters really between this one great channel that's got lots of exposure and doing really well to then throw in a video that gets loads of attention, loads of views, but might not necessarily have the highest view rate. It can have that negative impact.
Got it. Okay. So what would you recommend somebody spend on YouTube? Let's say that they're not spending anything currently and they haven't even considered YouTube advertising. Well, I guess the first question would be convince them that they need to spend money on YouTube advertising if they're just doing organic stuff solely. And then secondly, talk to them about how much they need to spend, what their investment should be, and what it should be based on.
Yeah, good questions. So I think that as an agency, we have a kind of a viewpoint that the people that should be advertising on YouTube is the people, like the companies should be advertising on YouTube is when their customers are going to YouTube naturally. So that's where you're going to get instant, easy results. You can still make it work when you're, let's say, for example, you're a lawyer and you might be a nationwide lawyer or might be just a local lawyer or an accountant or those sorts of people. When you have that sort of business, people aren't naturally going to YouTube per se to say, I'm looking for an accountant, therefore I'm going to go to YouTube. That's unlikely for that to happen. People go to YouTube because they want to know something or do something or buy something or be inspired by something. Those are the main reasons why people go to YouTube. If we move the inspiration audience out, so that's the people that might be watching Justin Bieber and Lady Gaga or whatever they're watching, or things that are kind of they're passionate about, then that's kind of half of the YouTube traffic. The other half are those people that are looking up how-to videos and tutorial videos and review videos of certain products and trying to get an understanding of if they can learn something or, as I say, do something or potentially buy something. And if your audience are doing that naturally on YouTube, I see it as almost like such an opportunity to get in front of your audience at that point. So let's say, for example, we've got a client who plays a lot of or teaches people how to play guitar. When someone types in how to play guitar on YouTube, they're looking for information about how to play guitar. And it's not a huge jump to say to people, okay, well, we have a course on this and we can show you how to become a great guitar player. And as a result, that's where YouTube works really well because there's millions of people typing in how to play guitar and words to that effect, or keywords and search terms that are very similar to that. So there's a huge opportunity for that particular brand. And if you think about, if you're kind of looking at YouTube and you think about your customers, it's looking to think, well, are my customers actually going to YouTube? Are they typing in things into YouTube that we can be there for? Because it's all about relevancy. If you can be there when they're looking for you and you show them an ad that talks to their problem and talks to what they're searching for at that point, and you have an offer that is related to that, the chances are you're going to do very, very well. So that's where the opportunity lies on YouTube. A lot of people look at YouTube from a standpoint of like Facebook, really. Like a lot of people who are advertising tend to be doing very well on Facebook. And they look at YouTube as another social platform, but it's really a search stroke social platform. YouTube tends to be used in a way whereby people go there because, yes, there's that inspiration side, but they're really looking for information. So being there when your customers are looking for you is how to make YouTube really, really work. If you're to carry that on into the conversation about budget, I would say that you'd start with very, very low budgets. Even as the agency that we run now, where we spend kind of a small fortune each day on advertising on YouTube, we still, when we're starting out with a new client, will hold it to like $10 to $20 budget per campaign. We won't be spending much because we want to prove out some kind of ideas first. We want to make sure that we get some proof of concept, things are going to work. And then once we see where the results are coming from, then we start to ramp up. But we're a very results-based agency. So we don't do the brand awareness campaigns. We do some of that for some of our clients. But we're much more interested in saying, let's turn $1 of advertising spend into $2 of profit. And if we can do that and we can scale that, then we've got a really exciting opportunity on our hands. But we start very, very small. So we can, I mean, if I was to say you're brand new and you're doing it yourself, I'd probably limit it to like, let's say $5 a day budget for your campaigns when you first get started. See how you perform, see if the ads are resonating with people. And if so, maybe spend $10 and then go up from there. You can spend thousands every single day very easily with YouTube as you scale, but you just want to make sure you get it profitable first and then scale.
Yep. Yeah, it makes total sense. And I think it's really worth reiterating for our listeners how important YouTube is and how different it is in comparison to Facebook or other social platforms, because it is a search engine. In fact, it is the number 2 search engine. Most people do not recognize or realize that YouTube is the second most popular search engine after Google. It's not Bing. It's not Yahoo. So when you think about like what are people typing in to that YouTube search box, and then how do I connect with those people if you're not doing YouTube advertising and you don't have a YouTube channel, so you're not doing anything organically either, you are invisible in the number 2 search engine. What a waste. What a missed opportunity that is.
Exactly. And the thing about this as well is that it's designed for a certain type of search as well. So, of course, people are going to go to Google and type in information there that's going to be very relevant for a Google search. So if I'm looking for a dentist, I'm going to go to Google for that. If I'm looking to find out more information about or where a restaurant is based, I'm going to go to Google for that. If I want to know how to do something, I'm not going to use Google necessarily. I'm probably going to type it into Google to start with, maybe, but then I'll start to see some videos in the search results. And then I might click that and then end up on YouTube, because that's the natural place for someone to show you a tutorial, to show you how to do things, whether that be how to fix your boiler at home, whether that be how to use a piece of software, whether that's understanding more about kind of a certain topic, or if you're kind of looking to review a sports shoe or anything like that, then there's so many opportunities where your customers are looking for this information. They're going to YouTube because they want to see what people have to say about it. It's crazy how I still can't get my head around unboxing videos on YouTube.
Yes.
So that's people just buying products and opening them up and recording what they're doing. And they get millions and millions of views, but it's because it's like the closest thing to window shopping that you can do. And
it's so fascinating. I've gotten sucked into that, not because I enjoy watching somebody open a new iPhone or something, but there are mystery boxes that you can buy, and you have no idea what you're going to get it inside of this mystery box. You just pay a certain amount of money, and you can find these on eBay. I started watching some where I only watched one that was about finding mystery boxes on the dark web, and then buying those and unboxing live on YouTube. It was fascinating and creepy and weird.
That's something definitely that I want to go and do now.
Yeah, I know. And I'm contemplating whether I should include a link in the show notes to this one or not. I don't know. It's kind of disturbing, but there is one in particular that I have in mind that it was pretty fascinating. So yeah, people think differently and behave differently on YouTube than they do on Google. And you can get people coming in from a Google search, ending up on YouTube, because YouTube is so prominent within the Google search results, but you also get a lot of people just going direct to YouTube and typing in a search query there, or they're already doing stuff on YouTube and it's so easy for them to just put in a search query into YouTube, whereas I don't think people do a lot of that on Facebook, because graph search is so terrible of a search engine. I personally, I don't even use it. It's just useless.
So on Facebook, you've got people just scrolling through their newsfeed, right? And they're in a different mindset. They're kind of like, the way that we tend to think about it is that they're leaning back. They're not necessarily active they're much more passive. And so they're kind of like scrolling through their newsfeed, seeing if it's something that's going to grab their attention based on their interests. Whereas with YouTube, someone's leaning in at this point. I mean, sure, I think now YouTube's overtaken in terms of traffic volume compared to Facebook. Or so, I can't remember exactly what the stats are on that, but I know that it's only recently changed over. But the actual intent behind someone who's going to YouTube is where it's at. That's the beauty of it, that someone's already motivated. Someone's already going to YouTube looking for information. And the beauty with YouTube is, especially with the advertising platform, is that you can choose to be there. You can get in front of your customers when they're looking. And that's kind of why the ads need to be different, why your mindset when you're advertising on YouTube needs to be different. And it's all just about being as relevant as possible, being there for your user and being helpful, really. Yeah.
I love that distinction. And so when somebody's doing keyword research, which is a typical thing for SEO, it's typical for pay-per-click as well, you need to think about the intention and behavior being different for a YouTube searcher versus a Google searcher. And so you can't rely on most keyword research tools are just Google search-based keyword tools, like Keyword Explorer from Moz, Rank Ranger Keyword Finder. There's just so many of these different tools out there that are focused around Google. And we need to get some YouTube-specific keyword research tools in order to identify the right keywords. Some keywords, there's just crickets when you go over to YouTube and see what the search volumes are for that. And on Google, they're super popular, and vice versa. So do you have any examples of the differences in behavior between Google searchers and YouTube searchers in terms of keywords that they're typing in?
Yeah, that's a huge distinction that we made about a year and a half ago, is that whilst we would use things like the Google's like display planner and the Google keyword planner and things, we would use it and we would never see that it would actually end up with that great of results, especially if we've done some Google search traffic with a particular client. But then sometimes we had clients where they were like so YouTube based compared to Google that it didn't even make sense to even start with Google. So let's say, for example, we talked about the guitar client, Tony Policastro, just a second ago. His traffic volume on Google is considerable, but it's nothing compared to his traffic volume on YouTube. And so when you're looking at that, then there's no keyword tools out there that are that useful. We've built some in-house because we need to try and work it out. But some good tips here would be to look at some of the titles. Like say for example, you type in like how to play guitar. Then I would start looking at some of the titles of the videos that are ranking for that type of keyword. And I would say, great, well, you might type in how to play guitar, and then it might be something like the best techniques, tutorial, or it could be like you'll see what the other titles of the videos are, and that can kind of guide you. That can be really, really useful just to start kind of coming up with new keywords. And then also what you can do is when you type in something like how to play guitar, if you start typing that into to YouTube, the box will come down and kind of start auto-suggesting some of the other keywords. And you can look at some of those because people are lazy and sometimes click those they won't complete what they wanted to type in. It's not necessarily just lazy, but sometimes when you type it in, you can actually see a search that you think, actually, that's more relevant to what I wanted. And I wasn't going to type that in, but that's actually more useful. So you end up clicking one of those. And as a result, that's the kind of the keyword that's being searched. And you can kind of make a note of those and kind of go through and just build it out. It's a bit of more of a laborious process, so you can't do the Google kind of trick of just grabbing loads all at once. But the beauty is that keyword targeting can be very, very powerful. Yeah. With YouTube. There's so many different types of targeting. Keywords is one of them for sure that we definitely use, and there's a load of others as well. Because we're talking about Google a little bit as well. The great thing what you can do, which is more of a recent release from the Google Ads platform, is they've opened up something called custom intent. And custom intent means that you can build an audience of people that type in keywords into Google, build that audience, and so when they come to YouTube, you can advertise to that audience. So it means that even if you have a Google heavy brand, let's say, for example, you're a dentist, for example, and you don't think many people are going to be going to YouTube to find you, then you could do a local campaign, so just targeting your local area where you get your patients from. But then you could say, right, if anyone types in local dentist in whatever area you're in as a custom intent audience from Google, and then you could run traffic to it on YouTube. So should that traffic end up on YouTube in the next kind of session or the next kind of day or so, then your ad can pop up in front of them. Even if they're watching like a Justin Bieber video, for example, they might then see, hey, we're a dentist just down the road, why don't you inquire, type thing. You can use different types of targeting like that to get in front of customers that wouldn't naturally be on YouTube, but would go to YouTube for other reasons, but you can still be there because they typed in relevant search terms when they were on Google recently.
Very cool. Very cool. So let's jump back to the keyword research stuff for a minute, because I want to close the loop on YouTube Suggest, which is what the Auto Suggest tool is called. There's Google Suggest and there's YouTube Suggest. Are you familiar with the tool Uber Suggest?
Yes, I know Uber Suggest. Yeah, that's those sorts of tools can be really helpful. And I mean, what ends up happening a lot of times is that people kind of go heavy on the keyword research because that's the Google way of doing things, right? So because it's easy to create lots and lots of ads very quickly if they're display ads or text ads to be relevant for those search terms. It's not quite so easy to be relevant on a video. So I would say to people, like, don't worry about too much about getting lots and lots and lots of keywords. I would choose ones that would be relevant for you. Some of the you don't necessarily have to use tools. We don't always use tools internally. We do as a suggestion, but we don't necessarily turn on 500 keywords. We might turn on like 20 to begin with and see if those are going to work. The real skill with YouTube and the real secret that no one is willing to put the time in sometimes is to just make sure you have an ad that's relevant for the search term. So if someone's putting in something like how to play guitar or how to play blues guitar, let's say, that is actually a big difference for the viewer. If they're like how to play blues guitar, that person is looking for something very, very specific to them, and just teaching them how to play guitar is not going to help them. They're not going to be interested in that. So what you want to do instead is know that you need to create lots of different videos as ads, And then make sure you can say, right, well, each one of these keywords, we're going to try and be as relevant as possible with an ad, which does mean you need to learn how to create video ads for YouTube. That's the shortcut to success, even though it's not a shortcut, it's actually a long cut, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But it's a way of saying, take one keyword that you think would be really effective for your business. It's probably going to have a huge amount of search anyway, so you don't have to necessarily overdo it in the search volumes. And say, right, if they type in that or words to that effect, I'm going to have my video here that's kind of handling exactly that concern, or I can really help that person in that scenario. So your ad becomes super relevant to what they've just typed in. And then the offer as well needs to be tied into that as well. So you just make sure that kind of that path to purchase is as relevant as possible. So you just know that someone's going to watch the YouTube ad and think, actually, yeah, I want to go and get that training. I want to go and get that next step. I want to go and buy that e-commerce product, whatever it might be that you've got. You want to try and be as relevant as possible and have ads that are relevant. So you might need to create lots of video ads. But the great thing about it is that you then build it and you're not going to get this fatigue issue that you might see on Facebook as you scale. You'll be able to say, right, well, let's get that to be as saturated as possible. But you're getting in front of new people all the time because it's new searches. You're not bombarding an audience. You're getting in front of them when they're searching. So you won't have that fatigue issue. So it's almost like you build a sales tool in this one area. Once it's dialed in and optimized and you can scale it, then you move on to the next keyword and a new video and the next keyword and a new video. So that's the way to grow out on YouTube and just try and keep that relevancy as high as possible.
Yeah. That's great advice. And just for our listeners' benefit, you and I know what Uber Suggest is, but let me just explain for our listeners who are unfamiliar with that tool what it does. So with Google Suggest and with YouTube Suggest, it will pull that data, it will scrape that data from Google and from YouTube to get the 10 suggestions based on the keystrokes that were typed. So you put in a keyword, let's say it's, I don't know, Justin, and you get like Justin Bieber and Justin Timberlake and so forth as suggestions back, but that's only 10, which is a good start. But what if you could iterate through the entire alphabet, like Justin, and then 10 that start with the letter A, and then Justin, and then 10 that start with the letter B, and Bieber will be in there, and so will some others, and then C and D, and all the way through Z, or Z, as you would say, and then 0 through 9 as well, and to be able to collect all of that and pull that into Excel or into some other tool, Google Sheets or whatever, just because there's an export button there, and that's the power of Uber Suggest. And many people only think it's for Google. It also works with YouTube. It also pulls from YouTube Suggest data. You just have to choose that option under the pull-down list. So that's Uber Suggest. And one other tool that I want to mention that is kind of a secret weapon, but it shouldn't be because it's a public tool and it's very popular, is Google Trends. It's a YouTube research tool as well. Mm-hmm. There's that YouTube option under the defaults to web search, which is Google search, and you can compare keywords to each other, verb tenses, singulars and plurals, different synonyms, and so forth. And people just use it solely for Google. But if you just choose under web search, YouTube search, then you can compare things like how to boil an egg versus how to cook an egg, or how to tie a tie or how to tie a bow tie. You want to see the difference in popularities between these keywords in YouTube? Just use Google Trends. Pretty cool.
That's great suggestions. Yeah, that we use that data a hell of a lot. And also, like once you start driving traffic, you get so much data as well from the campaigns you're running. So it'll start to allow you to see much more about your audiences and where you're getting the best traffic from. And you can get very advanced very quickly as well. So yeah, it's great that you went through that as well. That's very powerful.
Yeah. So we talked a couple of types of targeting. There's keywords, there's custom intent. Are there others that you wanted to mention that are important?
I think that lots of different types of businesses can perform really, really well. And I want people to be able to be ready to scale up and get ready for AI as well. It's a consideration that we're keeping an eye on and moving into very quickly. So there's things like in-market audiences. There's audiences that are made for you from Google, and they've got these kind of categories of different audiences. That's going to be based on people's behavior over the last 7 to 14 days. So let's say, for example, you're about to go on holiday, then Google will be tracking your behavior. And if you're booking flights and if you're booking hotels and car rental, etc., then Google will know that you're about to go on holiday, to the extent of which country you're going to, and all this information. So you can use that, and you can see all the information that you would need in order to advertise to an audience, like taking those sorts of actions online and that sort of behavior. So in-market audiences can be really powerful, because it's also people who are shopping for TVs or anything that's relevant to those sorts, or whatever categories Google have for you. So it's definitely worth going through those. They can be very powerful from YouTube's perspective. You also have topics as well that I find that can work really well. So topics, not necessarily like some people think that's going to be topics of what people decide their videos to fall under when they kind of create the video and upload it to YouTube. It's not that. There's thousands of topics that Google have categorized websites and videos into. So you could say, right, I want to advertise in front of all finance type videos. And then it's going to kind of grab all the videos that are related to finance, and you can run your ads in front of those audiences. So topics can be really powerful. You also have things like affinity audiences, which is just interest-based audiences, people who have hobbies, etc. That's those sorts of interests. You can build your own custom affinity audiences, and that's where you can build audiences based on people's keywords and websites they visit. So it feels like you can have like a remarketing pixel on other people's websites, which can be very advantageous. You can upload your CRM, your email database, to Google and advertise to people who are already on your database, and then even build like a similar audience, which is very similar to a lookalike audience. You have all these different options available to you on anything that's available on Google is typically available to you to run your YouTube traffic ads there as well. So that's a great opportunity. And the thing that Google have been working on a lot over the last year as well is the machine learning and the AI they're bringing out as well. So with that, when you have a lot of data going through your funnels and your sales funnels, let's say, for example, you have a product that's a $50 product, let's say, and you're having a lot of sales, and I'm talking about like 1,000 sales, and the more the merrier, really, the more the better. When you have a lot of traction going through and the pixel, your AdWords pixel is picking up a lot of data because it's seeing all these people go through and buy, it starts to understand a lot more about your customers. And so it can start to find more people just like those people that are already buying from you. And when you start to use those sorts of campaigns, they're called True View for Action campaigns, the ones that I tend to use a lot of at the moment. You run it and you say, with your help, Google, and a bit of my targeting, can you find more customers and scale with me? So it'll do a lot of the nitty gritty targeting that you don't have access to. So we probably got around about, there must be data points you could play around with, things like ages, genders, time of day, household income, search queries, all these types of things that you can play around with. Whereas with the AI, with True View for Action campaigns, Google handle a lot of that for you. Not to say it always works out. When it does work out, it can be very, very powerful because it can allow you to scale. We went from reliably about $3,000 per day in ad spend for one of our clients up to $16,000 a day just because the AI helped us out. And that allowed us to really start to scale. And that was like in the fitness space on YouTube. And so when you have these sorts of the data going through the funnel, Google are learning everything they need to know about your customers. And as soon as they start to learn that, then it kind of you can start to let Google help you out. And we now run campaigns where we don't put any targeting in whatsoever and just let Google get on with it. And that is a bit more risky, but and I wouldn't suggest people do that until at least 6 months worth of data and a lot of traction going through their funnels. But if you are able to get to the point where you have a lot of data, then you can sometimes just say to Google, well, you know who our customers are. We'll put our trust in you, and it can work very, very well. And that's something that's like super exciting because in the future, it might just be one of those situations where you say to Google, I don't know anything about my customers, but here's the campaign. You go and work it out, Google, and they'll run the campaigns for you. So there is that potential in the future. And I'd say that's probably about at least maybe 2 years away just yet, but it does look very exciting indeed to be able to have the AI of Google work things out for you instead of having to do the targeting yourself.
Yes, brave new world coming.
Precisely.
Yeah. So let's step back and give our listeners who are not super familiar with all the technology here a little bit of an overview of how, like, for example, with existing customers, you can upload that customer list to Google, just like you can with Facebook, and build what Facebook calls a custom audience. And now you can, like you said, create similar audiences that are like your customer audience, your custom audience of customers. And that is, in Facebook terminology, a lookalike audience, and YouTube terminology or Google terminology, that's a similar audience. Is that right?
That's correct, yeah. It works in a very slightly different way. So a lookalike audience on Facebook would work based on a percentage of the population of that nation. So let's say, for example, you uploaded your email list, which you can, as I say, you can do exactly the same with Google. It'll pass that data and it'll look at it and say, great, well, we've got so much content and knowledge about that audience already. It's kind of using the AI that they've already got. And I would recommend people take like their customers and then their prospects, maybe. So they might kind of like separate their traffic into two different camps, so to speak, because you want to have good quality that you're going to be uploading. So you upload those lists independent, like, so you can say, right, here's one list of customers, here's one list of prospects. And then what you'll do is you'll add them you just upload that email database. Google will then, as I say, pass that data, and then they'll start to look at it. And you could run ads directly to those customers. So if you wanted to upsell a certain type of customer or promote something like cross-sell or even downsell a product to all of your customers that are currently buying or have bought from you, you can do that very easily. And that can be it's normally very, very profitable, that, because you're getting in front of your existing customers that already know you, and it's an easy win. What Google will also do is they will start to build, as you say, these similar audiences. Now, it works slightly different to lookalike audiences on Facebook because, as I say, Facebook work on that 1%, 2%, 5%, 10% lookalike of your nation. Whereas with Google, the way it works, they say, we're going to find as many people as we can that are a similar your audience. And it normally works out, if you upload a list of, let's say, 1,000 people, then the chances are you'll build a similar audience that's of 10,000 people. So it normally does 10x the size of the list that you upload. But it can perform very well, those similar audiences. So you can run ads directly to those similar audiences. Just as a heads up on this one as well, I would say that it's worthwhile refreshing those audiences regularly, maybe once every 2 weeks. So you might re-upload the lists every 2 weeks, just because you can find the AI after 30 days can get a bit dodgy. It doesn't work as well as it did beforehand. And as a result, it's worth uploading it and re-uploading it just to kind of keep on refreshing that list. And you might have more people on it. And so as you generate more customers, etc. So it's worthwhile keep on improving that or keeping that list fresh, and it will perform better.
Yep. Great tip. And another great tip that you shared was to upload separate lists and not just dump it all into one big list. Your customer list is so much more valuable for the AI to do its analysis on than your email newsletter subscriber list, who can be your competitors and high school students who are doing research for some project at school, et cetera, et cetera.
Precisely, yeah. And to be fair, if you had, let's say, for example, you had 100,000 buyers, let's say, and you're working at a slightly larger scale, then in that scenario, you want to break down those customers as well to be like, okay, here's our high-end customers, here are our middle-tier customers, and here's our first-time buyers, for example. And the reason being is because you'll just be attracting a certain type of customer if you're to build those sorts of audiences. But I would always recommend people have 1,000+ people in those lists. I think there's a technical thing inside of the actual upload. I don't think it actually starts the generation of that similar audience if it's less than 1,000. So you want to make sure your audience is more than that. But yeah, break them down if you need to. If you had even if you had, let's say, 50,000 first-time buyers but they haven't upsold, I'd probably break that down into maybe 5 audiences. And just say, right, upload that 5 times. We know they're going to be first-time buyer list, but instead of doing one upload of 50,000, do 5 uploads of 10,000 people.
Okay, got it. Now let's move on to this concept of remarketing, or in Facebook terminology, it's retargeting, where you've dropped a pixel. It's a remarketing pixel, or like a Facebook pixel if we're talking about Facebook, that will allow you to track your users, your visitors to your website, and then serve them ads once they're on Facebook, once they're in YouTube. So let's talk a bit about the differences with retargeting on Facebook and remarketing on YouTube and Google for that matter. So what are the options and what are the pluses and minuses of each?
Okay, good. This is a very detailed answer. It can go kind of very detailed, so stop when you need to. But as an overall pitch.
Let's go deep down the rabbit hole.
Okay.
I'm keen for that. Yeah.
Okay, cool. If we keep it high level just for a second, then there's two types of remarketing that is done worthwhile having a look at. One is your video remarketing and one is your website remarketing. So website remarketing works much the same way as it would do on Facebook. If someone hits a landing page or if someone hits a sales page, you might want to remarket those people based on the page's interaction. Then if you look at the video remarketing, that's based on loads of different data points and based on people's engagement with your videos. So it's either your videos as an ad or your videos as your organic videos, if you have them. You can build lists of people that maybe subscribed, watched, liked, shared, did any sort of action on your videos. So if you have a large channel, you want to get all the people that maybe liked your video and say, right, let's build a list of those people that liked a specific video or a group of videos. And then you can say, right, we want to advertise to that audience. That is possible to do that. And the more specific you can be with those audiences, the better. One thing that we've done very successfully in the past is when we build the campaigns with clients, we'll not just say, here's one ad to an audience. We'll do what's called cascading the videos. So we'll say, if they see video 1, we won't let them see the video 1 again. And we'll let them now see video 2. And then we'll let them see video 3. And then we'll let them see video 4. So they get this like unique user experience. So when you say you don't get bombarded by the same ad over and over again, you start to see new ads from the same brand. And it's just a better experience until they convert. Of course, if they bought off the first video, then we'd say, right, well, let's exclude that audience as well. But it means you can just I'm big on user experience when it comes to getting successful campaigns. And if you think of it from that perspective, that's the way that you'll get the best results from YouTube.
Yeah.
When it comes to the remarketing you can put together, I mean, remarketing or retargeting on Facebook is a lot stronger than it is on YouTube, in my experience. Not that I do much Facebook stuff. I'm aware of it, and I know a lot of our clients do very well with Facebook. And it's almost like the platform is geared up for it. So it's based on the user and based on how they've interacted with even if they've seen your post, you can start running ads to them again, and it's very cheap to do that. It's a little bit more expensive on YouTube, and therefore the numbers don't always work out. So I wouldn't go heavy on remarketing. A lot of people say, I'm going to just start with YouTube and just do a bit of remarketing first of all and see if that works. And it doesn't work out for them, and they feel like YouTube's never going to work. Like, we often don't get great results from remarketing because our cold traffic search is much better for us, and we pull our efforts into that area. So,
wow, that's counterintuitive.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy, right? Like, I don't know. I mean, we turn it on and we have it running, and it's very, very ROI positive, but it doesn't get anywhere near the sort of results we want it to if we want to really scale. So we always have it there for great ROI, but not much scale, as well as a really good user experience. But we never really rely on it as a way to kind of work with a client as such, and work to really scale things up. But I mean, the ways in which it can work really effectively is when you do have a higher volume of traffic going, let's say, for example, through a funnel, and you don't want to necessarily remarket those people that hit the landing page. You can do that, but the chances are they've seen that video, they've watched it for a minute, they even searched a query to begin with that made your video pop up in the first place as a pre-roll ad. So they've searched something, they watch your video, then they clicked your website, and they don't sign up. It's unlikely they're going to go through that cycle again and decide to go and do it the second time. So you want to offer them something different the second time around. If they hit that landing page, they've shown interest, but they didn't opt in, it's probably best to show them a different offer, or work out a different process. So we don't necessarily do a huge amount on that. If we're sending it to a very content-rich page, let's say, for example, we wanted to send it to a review of a product page, or like a page that might be more of like a content page as opposed to a sales page or even an opt-in page, then again, we'd say, right, anyone who's hitting that page are now more valuable, but really only if they spend a minute or two on that page. If they kind of go onto the page and leave within 10 seconds, we don't want to have those people on the remarketing list because they just show they weren't interested. And so trying to get them back to that page is not probably going to be very successful. So what we'll do is we can use there's kind of delayed pixel timers and things, especially if you're using Google Tag Manager. It's a lot easier to install it, but you can delay your pixel firing. So you can say, well, after 30 seconds or 2 minutes, that's when I want to have my pixel fire. And if they're still around on that page at that point, then they'll be added to my remarketing list. I learned that from John Belcher, who works very closely with Justin Brooke and works at AdSkills. Yeah, that was like a big insight for us. And it just made, like, whilst it's still not huge volume, we can say anyone who gets to the sales page or checkout page, we can take that audience and then run ads to those people. And whilst it might not be that, as I say, not much scale there, the revenue per head inside of that remarketing list is huge, just because we know we're getting in front of exactly the right people. And then we can use a lot of more of like the YouTube ads to get in front of them, but also display ads and brand search ads and all that sort of good stuff as well. So we can just make sure we're omnipresent at that point. We just use all the ads we can to get back in front of that audience, because we know we're so close to making that purchasing decision. And they might just need a nudge or a bit more like scarcity in terms of time or whatever it might be that they need to push them over the edge to actually go and buy. We just know that we're really, really close. And so that's a very, very valuable list to build.
Wow. That is such a ninja tip that you got from John Belcher about timing the pixel firing within Google Tag Manager. I love that.
Yeah. Normally I'll just
genius.
take all the credit for myself, but I thought it'd be best to give some to John there in that scenario.
Awesome. So within Facebook, you can set the retargeting so that if somebody watches, let's say 75% of your video, then you can send them another offer, another ad. Is it that precise with YouTube remarketing?
Unfortunately not. I know I wish it was. I feel like we'd be able to do really, really well with that data. The way that we create the ads, though, I'm not too fussed about it. That kind of like starts a conversation about how to create the video ads. That might be a good time to talk about that if that's something you wanted to talk about, because it'll play a role in how you think about the ads. So like, I think a lot of the time people try out YouTube and then say it doesn't work, even if they get the targeting right. And it's normally because they're looking at the wrong data, really, when it comes to whether their ads are going to work. So a lot of the time people are looking at their ads and thinking, well, surely a good ad has kind of good engagement. People are watching the video for a while. They're kind of engaging with the video, and they might watch more than 30 seconds. And also they want a high click-through rate as well. And these can be indicators of success. But some of our best performing ads that we have with clients are actually ads that have low view rates. That's people watching past 30 seconds, and also very low click-through rates. So it's not to say that a high click-through rate is an indicator of success. The reason that kind of plays back into this remarketing question of whether you can get the audiences at 25, 50, 75, and 95% of the video is that we're not even looking for that in the first place. Because the way that the in-stream ads work on YouTube is that you pay when someone watches past 30 seconds or comes to the end of your video. So let's say, for example, you are running an ad and you pay when someone watches past 30 seconds. You want to structure your video ad in such a way that kind of gets people to either fully click and go through to the website and take action, or if they're not going to take action, tell them this ad's not right for them. So anytime that we've tried any ads that are kind of very, very engaging in terms of entertaining or tell a really good story or try and get people excited about what the whole video is about, it's lovely and romantic to be like, I'd love that video to work. And I come from a video background, so I love the idea of things like that working. But when I look at the hard numbers and looking for ROI, I realize I have to create videos that work in a slightly different way. And so we want to make sure that people know at the very start of the video that this is an ad, this is who it's for, and this is what it's going to cover. If you can cover that in the first 10 seconds of an ad, you might have loads and loads of people click away, but those are exactly the people that you don't want to watch past 30 seconds. If you engage them in a really exciting story and they watch past 30 seconds, you pay at that point, then you're going to find that you are paying for lots of people that are interested but don't take action.
Wow, that is such a distinction that's important for our listeners to get, versus with YouTube Organic, you want maximum watch time so that your videos get rewarded more and more in organic algorithm. But with advertising, you want essentially the opposite. You want them to leave if they're not a good fit.
Exactly.
Straight away before you pay for
and so
them.
that probably gives it more clarity as to why we start these ads in new campaigns or new channels sometimes, because we don't want to have these sorts of ads running in the organic channels because it can have that negative impact on the whole channel's view rate, engagement rate. So what we want to try and do at the start of the videos is make sure that people know it's for them and know it's an ad, it's going to be promoting something, but know it's kind of exactly what they're looking for. Most of the time you look on YouTube, you see stuff that's actually quite irrelevant. And so people start off with a search term on YouTube, but end up kind of flicking around YouTube and getting distracted and looking for other things. So the quicker you can be relevant to people, they're likely to respond to your ad because your ad's going to be handling something that the organic videos might not. So let's say, for example, you're typing in, well, let's move away from guitar for a second, but let's say, for example, how to lose weight. And they were like, and you, as I said, the top 5 tips on how to lose weight, and you clicked it. And then you realized it was all about type of protein to eat and you're a vegan. Then it's like, okay, well, that's actually not relevant for me any longer. And then you might type in like how to lose weight if you're a vegan. I don't know if that's something that does get typed in very often. But then if you said, here's your video ad that says, hey, look, if you're looking to lose weight as a vegan, then here's my top 5 tips. Then you're so much more likely to know this is for you. And here's your top 5 tips. And then at the start of the video as well, before 30 seconds is up, you can say, actually, we've got a whole recipe cookbook that you can go and buy for just $20 if you wish to. But let me just go in and talk a bit more about these 5 top tips. So you can kind of seed all of this really on in the video so people know this is really for them and it's an ad. Then they're kind of like happy to listen to it and be engaged with it. So that's kind of like it's just understanding that YouTube doesn't always answer the question that you want. Like the videos that are out there don't kind of handle your questions immediately all the time, but ads can, because you can be really relevant. They can be nice and short and just giving the viewer exactly what they want. And it shortcuts the process. And those people that are likely to go and buy will buy, because if you're giving them good content and put a good offer in front of them, the chances are a lot of them will buy and make it very ROI positive. So that's kind of a big part of the whole structure and how you think about YouTube, is that you can't get away with creating a Facebook ad and creating a Facebook video and hoping for 95% engagement and then retargeting that audience. That works really well on Facebook. But when it comes to YouTube, it's a different ballgame altogether. Sure, you're still using a video, but really the audience is different. What they want is different. And also the ways in which the platform works is different. So you need to create videos that really just work very effectively for the platform.
Yep. Makes a lot of sense. And if you do this right, YouTube can actually become your number 1 traffic source, potentially, right? Even surpassing Google. You have some clients that have been able to achieve that, correct?
Yeah, exactly. Many of our clients get a lot of scale on Facebook quickly. And the scale on YouTube takes time, because you might say, right, let's tackle the first keyword or the first keyword cluster as such. Now let's tackle the second one. So if, let's say, for example, you're in the fat loss niche, the way in which that might work is say, okay, well, fat loss is one thing, or weight loss, but then you might say, well, people looking up specific things like belly fat or types of diets, or I don't know, whatever they're looking up. You can say there's there's probably like 25 different niches or sub niches within the weight loss industry, dieting, fitness workouts, those types of things. And as a result, you don't want to just go for that big old keyword of fat loss. You want to try and tackle all the mini ones, because there's still huge amounts of scale within those ones. But that can take a bit of time. So if you wanted to try and promote yourself on someone like Facebook, you can get a lot of scale very quickly. But if you give it time, YouTube can, as you build out and you do it right, you can really scale up. But it does take a bit more time to do it. But it is a lot more reliable once you've got those numbers. But the other great thing about YouTube is it tends to be more valuable traffic than Facebook. It might cost a little bit more. The revenue per head of someone who's come from YouTube tends to be higher, because originally it was search traffic, and also they watched your video before they decided to come to your website. Whereas with Facebook, it might just be passive, kind of seeing an ad that they were interested in. They click, and out of curiosity, they're like, okay, yeah, I'll sign up for that, because it was really easy. I just pressed one button and that was in, because I used the lead forms or whatever you wanted to use on Facebook. So it might cost a lot less per lead on Facebook than it might do on YouTube, but the value of the lead will be a lot higher typically. So when you look at it, it ends up being this thing where you can get a lot of scale and spend a lot of money on Facebook very quickly, but give it time, you can have much more profound results from YouTube.
Got it. Okay, so last question. What would be, for you personally, one or several very powerful tools or books or masterminds, seminars, conferences, whatever, that really have made a difference in your life, in your business, and your ability to grow and prosper?
Very good question. So this might be a shameless plug. I've just written a book myself called Viewability, which covers YouTube ads and kind of talks a lot about what we've been talking about today. There's moving on from that, away from this shameless plug, there's also some books that have been really profound to me from a video creation standpoint. Made to Stick by Dan and Chip Heath has been a really important book for my understanding about how to make videos really just get across to the viewer very, very quickly. Because with YouTube, you haven't got much time. And so you need to make sure what you say in those videos really sticks in people's minds and has an impact. And so Made to Stick is a great book for that. Cialdini, like Robert Cialdini, a lot of his work about the persuasion principles has been something that's been really big for us. That's been a really interesting way of kind of like different ways of using some of the principles of commitment and consistency, using things like scarcity have been really big for us. But I think that's a lot for many people writing copy and things.
So there are two books by Cialdini. One is Influence, and another one is Persuasion. You'd recommend both of them, I'm guessing?
Yeah, Persuasion I found a bit more of a difficult read when I first read it, and that's a great book. And it's an easy one because it's very easy just to get the points very quickly. Persuasion is still great. It's a bit more difficult to apply some of that to what you're doing. So it's a bit more, I found it not as easy to kind of use with YouTube ads specifically. Still very, very powerful, and it's more like the framing of things. It's very, very clever on that one. But those two together, Cialdini's Influence book, and then also Dan and Chip Heath writing Made to Stick, they are great foundations for creating good video, amongst loads of other books that are out there as well. But something that I've been reading recently is The Pumpkin Plan by Mike Michalowicz. The Pumpkin Plan has been great from a business standpoint, a bit of a kind of different feel to the other books, which are much more tactical and strategic. The Pumpkin Plan is a bit of a bigger look at business, and that's kind of given me a good viewpoint on some of the ways that we run the agency and how we look to grow and scale our company as well. So yeah, some 3 books there that I found very, very powerful, and well, 4 if you include my shameless plug as well.
Of course, we have to include that. And there's another book that you mentioned before we started recording, and that's Essentialism. And you've actually read that book multiple times. Do you want to share a little bit about that one?
Yeah, so I find that in an entrepreneur's journey as such, there's always loads of opportunities that you can focus on. The Essentialism for me, when I first read it, it's also, I read it at the same time as I read The One Thing. I can't remember the author of The One Thing, but I think it's Greg McEwen or Greg McCow. Oh, I can't remember the surname now. You might be able to remember it, but Essentialism is a great book, and I found it very easy to kind of just get very focused in on what you're doing and move everything else away, and just kind of be very, very focused on certain tasks and projects. And that is it's a great one that I kind of come back to and have to remind myself to get back in that way of thinking sometimes. But yeah, again, it's a great read, and I'd definitely recommend that.
Awesome. And how about masterminds or seminars, conferences? I know, for example, you're part of James Schramko's Silver Circle.
James Schramko is amazing. I'm always talking very highly of James. So yeah, he's got the Silver Circle. He's also got his super fast business, and I find it very difficult to find good masterminds and good people to trust and mentors to trust. But with James, it's been one of those no-brainers. I've been with him for several years now, and everything he's done is just having that sounding board and someone who's got that insight and that ability to be able to share the right advice at certain points, knowing you as well and where I'm at, has been really, really valuable for me. So James I always have to pronounce his surname very clearly. So it's Schramko and not Franco. Sometimes people feel it's like the Hollywood actor. It's not that guy. Yeah, it'd probably be much more expensive. But James is phenomenal and very, very good. And yeah,
he is phenomenal. I've had him on this show. I've had him on my other show on the Optimized Geek. Yeah, those are must-listen episodes, listeners.
He's fantastic. And Masterminds, I'm part of Baby Bathwater, which is new. I mean, I've only been to one event, and I'm new into that cycle, into that kind of arena, so to speak. But the guys there, Hollis has been kind of a close contact for a while, and that group of are kind of really, really exciting group to be part of. So I find it very difficult with masterminds sometimes. I feel like sometimes you can get to masterminds and it's the same conversations, and it doesn't necessarily seem to progress too fast. And it feels like what you went there for ends up being a regurgitation of other things you may have seen before, and there's not huge insights, which is kind of the opposite of what I get with James. So James has always got new insights for me, which is really, really valuable. But the Baby Bathwater group that I'm part of, that's been something that's been very eye-opening and gets me to think in different ways as well, which is what I need sometimes.
I've never heard of that group, Baby Bathwater. Very cool. I love the name.
Go and check it out. Yeah, they're great.
I will. So how do folks work with you? Like, what's the best way to reach you and your agency and start spending money on YouTube?
Yeah, of course. So everything that we've got really is at viewability.co.uk. So that's our website to go to. And we've got the book that's being released on the 10th of the 10th, so 10th of October. And that kind of covers a lot of information. It's kind of like it's not necessarily heavy reading. It's much more the sort of book you can buy and read on a flight somewhere. So it feels like it's the sort of thing that can be the perfect introduction to YouTube ads. So Viewability, the book, is available as of the 10th of the 10th. And then also we have our agency. We've got some training products as well. So I'd recommend people, if they want to get involved with YouTube advertising, it's not always easy, but it's definitely something that's doable. And so I'd recommend people get training and understand what they're doing. But so viewability.co.uk is the place to go, and we've got lots of information there.
Oh, that's brilliant. So thank you so much, Tom. This was insightful, inspiring, packed with just gold nuggets. It was amazing. So thank you again, Tom, and thank you, listeners, for paying rapt attention. And now it's time to take action. So go to the Marketing Speak website, marketingspeak.com, and check out the show notes, all the links to the various episodes and resources, the books and everything, including Tom's book, Viewability. Definitely, that's a must get. All at marketingspeak.com, along with an action-based checklist. So we're distilling the best things that are action-oriented tasks for you to apply in your business from this episode, and creating a checklist for you, a downloadable PDF, and that's available at marketingspeak.com. All right, this is your host, Stephan Spencer, signing off. We'll catch you on the next episode of Marketing Speak. In the meantime, have a great week.
Thanks for listening to the Marketing Speak podcast. Your host has been Stephan Spencer, 3-time author and leading expert on SEO and online marketing, whose client list boasts such brands as Zappos, Sony, and Chanel. Want to learn more about SEO, social media, or just generally how to build an online empire? Visit marketingspeak.com for an archive of past episodes, along with transcripts and show notes. In addition, a wealth of resources that include video-based training, screencasts, webinars, white papers, articles, and blog posts can be found on his SEO coaching site, scienceofseo.com. To reach Stephan, visit his personal website at stephanspencer.com or email him directly at stephan@stephanspencer.com. Until next time.